Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm filming this video on October 11th of 2023, and the reason why this date is so important and such a milestone is because this is the 1 year anniversary of me joining Poshmark. So, as you can tell from the title, I'm going to go over some numbers. I'm going to talk about, is it worth selling on Poshmark? Should you be selling on Poshmark? And keeping in mind that I'm in Canada, so Poshmark Canada, Poshmark US, two different entities. Although I think if you're close to the border, you can sell on both. I'm not anywhere close to the border. I don't have that option. So I'm talking just about Poshmark Canada. But, coming from somebody who was selling on eBay for a couple of years, really getting into it maybe around like 2020, and then just starting to pick things up a little bit with clothing and whatnot, and having some success with it, but then finding out about Poshmark. How have things gone in 1 year as a Poshmark seller? Well, I've got my phone here and I've got some Posh stats I want to talk about. But first of all, just diving into the clothing thing real quick. You don't have to only sell clothing on Poshmark. Obviously, that's what it was kind of tailored for, but you can sell, just about anything on Poshmark. And one huge advantage in Canada is the flat rate shipping that Poshmark offers. They've partnered with Canada Post to allow $13.49 flat rate expedited parcel shipping across Canada. That is amazing because basically, as I've talked about before on this channel, I can ship something to my neighbor down the street, but it's going to cost me a minimum of like $20. So it's really great. I'm selling clothing items to Nunavut, selling like parkas, like huge down-filled parkas that are, several pounds in a big box, and I'm sending it to Nunavut, which is way up there, for $13.49. So that's amazing, and that really helps domestic sales, especially. Obviously selling on Poshmark Canada, but being an eBay seller in Canada has its own drawbacks, has its own obstacles, if you will. Shipping is an obstacle, but it's actually cheaper to ship to the US a lot of times. But Poshmark really just makes it easy. So I'm going to get into some numbers and then talk about them a little bit, but I'm just going to do some quick math here. I have sold 551 items on Poshmark in my first year. So 551 items divided by 365 days. I'm averaging almost exactly 1.5 items per day sold on Poshmark. My average buy cost on clothing items that I sell is about $6.50. So that means that out of those 551 items, my buy cost has been $3,581.51. So just under $3,600. We'll keep that in mind. Getting back to Poshmark here, I have earned after fees, so after everything, money that has actually been sent to me, $11,592.57 in 1 year on Poshmark. So obviously, for anybody who's only doing this part-time or something, yeah, that's great money. For somebody who's doing full-time, or if this was your job, then yeah, $11,000 earned in a year, but you still got to take your cost of goods off of that. That's not a lot of money at all. But keeping in mind, I do have a full-time job. I really only put maybe 10 or 15 hours a week into reselling, and that's everything, listing, packing, shipping, all the things. So for me, that 11,000 and some in the first year, after backing out my cost of goods, is about $8,010 in net profit. So $8,000 in the run of a year. Let's just put it into perspective. We bought our house 2 years ago, 2.5 now. We've had to do some work to the house and knew that going in. What does $8,000 do? Hey, that covers the chimney repair I had to do. It covers the big window I had to replace. Those are two major things that have essentially been taken care of by, just selling on Poshmark and doing this thing for 10 to 15 hours a week. So, I think personally that being on Poshmark has been a huge, huge benefit. It definitely has helped me get more clothing sales, more domestic clothing sales, because again, if it's more than a t-shirt and doesn't fit letter mail in Canada, you're not going to sell a whole lot in Canada on eBay as far as clothing goes, unless you're selling really cheap. Again, my average buy cost, since I'm sourcing from a thrift store with a set price list, is about $6.50. So I mean, I need to be selling things for $20 or more, otherwise what's the point? So yeah, I'm just looking at some of those numbers there. I mean, I'll talk about a couple of other things, I guess, because I might as well. So I am a Posh Ambassador 2, so the second tier of Posh Ambassador, and basically what that means is that I have, let's see here, I have, okay, now for some reason I'm having a hard time finding the list of things. Oh, here we go. So you have to have, shared 20,000 things. You have to have a minimum of 100 available listings. You have to have had 50 sold listings, an average seller rating of 4.7 stars. So, feedback on Poshmark's a little bit different, and it is only private to you, but people can give you a rating when they receive your thing. I have a 4.9 out of 5 average seller rating, 4.7 is needed. And yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like, one of the big deterrents for Poshmark for me was knowing that it's kind of a social thing. Like, you got to share and you have to do all this stuff and follow people and have them follow you. Like, that's stupid. That's what I thought. And so I avoided it for a little while. A couple of months I thought about, joining Poshmark, and I was like, this is just idiotic. I don't want to do that. Like, that sounds terrible. I don't want to be on another social media platform and have to be social in order to sell my clothing online. But shortly after joining, I realized it's not all that bad. You don't necessarily have to do a lot of sharing, but it definitely does get your name out there and whatnot. But then I discovered Posh Sidekick, and I've been using that since about the beginning of this year. And what Posh Sidekick is, it costs me about $41 a month Canadian, and it's basically just like an automation tool. So I found out about it from watching Tabs McCaffrey's videos here on YouTube. Definitely check her out if you don't know who she is. I'm guessing if you know who I am, you probably know who she is. There's not a whole lot of clothing resellers in Canada on YouTube, it doesn't seem like. She is one of them. I am another. But certainly, getting Posh Sidekick, paying that $41 a month, at first it seemed a little bit daunting, like, oh man, so I'm on Poshmark now, and then I got to pay like $40 a month so it can auto share and do all these things for me. Is it worth it? Well, I can say with absolute certainty it is, because with Posh Sidekick you can also set up, automatic offers to likers. So when someone likes your thing, you can go in and manually send them an offer if you like, a certain percentage off. You have to give discounted shipping at least down to the $9.99 mark, so $3.50 off the shipping, which comes out of your take at the end, of course. Poshmark doesn't cover that. But you can set that all up to do that automatically, and you can create different rules and stuff. So to me, having Posh Sidekick, growing the closet just exponentially, doing all this sharing per day and following and sending out offers and things, just not having to be glued to my phone, being a part of that nonsense as far as I'm concerned. The social aspect of it was great. It definitely built sales, and really I only need to make maybe like 3 extra sales, 4 extra sales if I'm guessing, $10 to $15 of net profit per item. So 3 or 4 lower end items in a month, in an entire month, pays for the service, so the monthly fee. So that's definitely happening. And especially, you make one good sale where you earn $40. That's got it paid. So I just wanted to talk about Posh Sidekick as well. But another aspect about being on Poshmark that has been hugely beneficial, if you are familiar with other eBay resellers who are sharing their story and their journey on YouTube, especially it seems like in the US, but Canada as well, because I've definitely noticed it, there have been just ridiculous site issues constantly on eBay. And, you know, yes, there's going to be seasonal ups and downs in sales. Yeah, you need to list good stuff. You need to be listing regularly and consistently, of course. But you can recognize the patterns. Like when you go almost a week and not be able to send out a single offer to somebody on eBay, you know there's something wrong. Like something's not working. Something is not triggering those views. Your stuff's either not getting seen or it's not triggering you to be able to, send out an offer to people who have shown interest in your item. So when it's working, I'm sending out offers multiple times a day, as often as I can. I'm basically always doing between like 5 and 10% off, sometimes even 20% off. Like, I'll list my stuff at say like 47.57, some random number. And then, if someone likes it, I might, if it's been around for a while, it might be like, okay, I'll just send $39.99. It's just a nice clean number, or $42.99, whatever it is. And that definitely generates sales. But when eBay's not working, which it didn't pretty regularly here over the last few weeks, it's come around now, but I had a couple of really lower weeks on eBay. In fact, I had 1 week where I did not even get a payout from eBay. I've got myself set up to get paid out every Tuesday. So what had happened was I got paid out on Tuesday, but by Wednesday, a bunch of the shipping labels I purchased over the weekend came out. So my eBay account was actually in the negative by about $110. That actually happens pretty regularly because, if you're doing shipping and stuff over the weekend, you get paid out on Tuesday. It usually does take till about Wednesday or sometimes even Thursday for those previous labels to actually process and get deducted from your account total. But almost always, by the time the next Tuesday comes around, you've made enough sales that it doesn't matter. Like you've gotten that money back in, plus again, you get your payout. But, 2-3 weeks ago, I didn't get a payout at all. I was in the negative 110. I think I made enough sales that eBay only debited my account $30. And then I made a couple sales, but a couple more labels came out. And I was actually in the negative again by like $5 by the time that Tuesday rolled around again. So there's something seriously wrong with eBay when you're having those kinds of situations occur. When you're used to selling between like, $750 and $1,000 a week. So if I'm selling between $750 and $1,000 of stuff per week, and some of that's eBay, some of that's Poshmark, but I'm not getting a payout from eBay, that's where Poshmark really shows its value because, on some of those weeks where eBay's been low, Poshmark's been the saving grace. It's been the difference between not making any money that week at all and having a few $100s in cash flow rolling in. So it's definitely worth being on there. And I just wanted to share the numbers for me and also a little bit about, Posh Sidekick and how it's a good backup for eBay. But I would recommend it to anybody, even if you're not exclusively in the clothing reselling game. I mean, I am like, probably 95% of my listings are clothing, or 90% anyway, just because it's easy and I've got almost unlimited inventory available to me. I've got thrift stores, like a chain of thrift stores, all within a very quick radius of me that I can go and just stock up constantly, and I can afford to be a little fussy and selective with what I'm bringing home and listing because it's abundant around me. So that's why I deal mostly on clothing. But hard goods, yeah, I'm going to start listing some hard goods over there as well. I've got some like video game lots and things. And, I'm surprised I haven't yet. I don't know why, because knowing again, I can send like a Nintendo Wii and 6 games and a bunch of controllers and accessories and all that stuff in like an 8-pound box for $13.50 anywhere in Canada. I mean, that would normally cost $35 or $40 to ship that. So, I really need to get on that and start cross-listing some of that over there. But speaking of cross-listing, one of the last things I'll talk about here, actually probably the last thing, is that I do list to eBay first. So every time I'm on my phone, I've got my eBay open, I list my item, immediately I just go to view listing, copy the title, open up Poshmark, put the photos, same photos in, put the same title in, same description in, and just immediately cross-list from there. I don't use a cross-listing tool because for me, I create my eBay listing, and to just copy everything over to Poshmark manually from there is like a 2-minute process at most. So if I'm listing like 5 items, it's really only an extra like 10 minutes to put it on Poshmark, and I do all of my price comparisons and comps and everything from eBay. I don't worry at all about what Poshmark says I should be using as a price. I really don't care about that at all, because one thing about Poshmark that is a significant negative is that their search sucks. Their sold comping to go in and try to find value on something is just terrible. Like, you get so many completely irrelevant results that you might as well like do your actual research on how something is, you know, how much something's worth on eBay. Use that as your like main focal point of what you're gonna list things as, and then I'll list it to eBay, transfer it over to Poshmark, and then I'll usually just add like, I'll usually add 10% or a few dollars or something, because I'm gonna automatically have offers on Poshmark where I'm sending a 10% off offer plus the $3.50 discount on shipping. So I want to include that in my price, and I think that everybody kind of just does that. People expect to get offers on Poshmark, so just, you know, if you're listing something for 30 on eBay, maybe list it for 35, 36 on Poshmark. It balances out by the time you make the sale with your discount and your 10% off and your discounted shipping. So. Okay, well, I think that's enough. Yeah, again, what was that number again? $11,592.57 earned on Poshmark in 1 year, an average of 1.5 items every day being sold, and over $8,000 in net profit on Poshmark in the year. That has essentially covered 2 major house repairs that I had to do. So yeah, get on Poshmark, folks. It's worth it. Anyway, thanks very much for all the support on the channel, guys. Appreciate it very, very much. The channel's taking off, and I'm having fun with it. If you have any questions, comments, by all means, leave it down below. We'll have a conversation about it, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.